everybody. It's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today we are doing a review of last night's presentation of Masterchef, the adult kind. And it's called Generations because it has the candidates or the people who are competing are from 4 different generations of people. There'll be Boomers, which was last night, and X, which is like, 40 to 50-year-olds, the Millennials, and Gen Z. So, I don't know what season number it is, but it's like 14 or something. So, anyway, they're going to give out, at the beginning, they said 5 more aprons. So, which turned out to be interesting because it made the hour, which it usually is over in an hour, if you include commercials, it made it go over like 15 minutes into the next hour, which is funny because the show that followed this was another one of Gordon Ramsay's competing shows. So, go ahead, Marco.
What?
Go ahead.
What'd you call me?
Marco?
No, you said Markle. You said, go ahead, Markle.
Okay, and I guess Marco isn't going to talk. He's just going to give me a problem.
Okay, well, this episode I thought was a million times better. It wasn't as negative. I thought it was more positive, and I liked how the Boomers, surprisingly, they hardly even talked about their generation. They hardly even talked about, like, we're Boomers, so that makes us better. And we're better than that group and that group. Like, they hardly did that at all.
And I kind of don't see that happening anyway.
So, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And also, all the food looked really good. I'd say my favorite dish was the first one, the pork chop dish.
Oh. You mean the one where it says, where Gordon says, I don't know. Oh, it's like you dressed this dish in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was supposed to mean.
It meant that, like, it looked like she just threw everything on the plate. And I guess it kind of did, but I don't care. Like, it looks like good food. It looks like I want to eat it. Like, it didn't look like diarrhea or anything. And so, I thought it looked really good, personally. I also thought that these chefs were a lot better. They were a lot more experienced. They were a lot more likable. So I'd say overall it was a pretty good episode. I'm not a big fan of the audition episodes anymore. I feel like they kind of suck now because, like, they're so formulaic and you know exactly what's going to happen. You have the judges and they'll say something like, you know what I think about this dish? And then they'll do a commercial break, and then they come back and they're like, it's amazing. And, doing stuff like that, I don't like the thing where we don't see the people get their aprons, and so all we see is them walk out, and then they do like a fake out where they make you think they didn't get an apron, and then it turns out they did. Like, I hate that. And they did that over and over again in this episode. Like, I just miss, like, the old Masterchef, and I hesitate to say that because there was a lot of bad stuff in the old Masterchef. Joe. And Joe's behavior. But the audition episodes were tolerable, though. It was one and done. But Safi, what were you going to say about Joe?
Well, last night, they had the 3 judges, and they did their thing that Marco always complains about, which is fireworks and fog and smoke. That's how they marched out into the show. But Joe he can be a real jackass. Sorry, but it's true. And his mother was there, and usually she's kind of bitchy, so maybe that's where he gets it. But
probably.
She was really very pleasant and calm and likable and supportive and objective. And he acted like his jerky self. I mean, it was a little bit milder than usual because I think his mom was there. But he got so bad in one part, and it wasn't really a lengthy part where he got bad. It's just where he just said like 2 or 3 negative things in a row or something, and she was like shocked that he acted like that.
Yeah, it was funny. The whole episode, too, all he did was say no.
Yeah,
almost. Like, literally.
Or it looked like he was going to say no. Yeah. But that was after he said no a lot for real.
Well, it was almost like he didn't even really... Like, it's like, what is his criteria for Masterchef quality dishes? Because it's like, you had that pork chop dish. Did he say yes to her? Did you write that down?
Yeah, I probably did. Just let me look real quick. Well, no, he said this dish is exceptional.
Oh, well, see, it's like, isn't that weird?
All 4 yeses.
Isn't that weird, though?
Her name was Rebecca.
He says no to that, but then there's other dishes where they're, they looked a lot better. They didn't look like they were just thrown on a plate, and then he'd say no. There was like this one guy, and he was like, yeah, this is really good for a child. He just every single thing this whole episode, like, at least he isn't doing the plate thing, where he throws the plates away, the plates of food away, because I literally, am not going to watch that if he does that on the show.
It's just ridiculous when he does that. No, actually, Gordon is the one that said the only, really negative comment, which is like, quote, it's like you dressed this dish in the dark.
Safi, you've already said that.
I know that, but, I mean, Joe said, besides saying that the dish was exceptional, he said she could be a contender. So I thought that was interesting.
And what is Joe's qualities for a contender?
Yeah, I know. Really.
Because later on, there was this one guy, and listen, I'm not saying that health food is bad, but it was clear that this guy, he made like a healthy dinner type of thing, and it was something that Joe would want to eat on a Saturday night in Los Angeles, like at a restaurant, like a fancy, pretentious restaurant, and he was like so enthusiastic and said yes to that. But then the dish that came before that, he said it was made for a child. And it just kind of seems like it's like bias with him. It's like it's really not about if the dish is objectively MasterChef quality. It's about like, is it up to Joe's quality? Is it up to Joe's biased palate?
Biased.
Like, this dish is good because it reminds me of something I get at a fancy restaurant in Los Angeles type of thing. Right, Safi?
Yeah, this guy had been a personal trainer, but I didn't write down how long, but I mean, he had to have been one for a while because he looked physically fit. And so the reason why, well, we'll get to him because he comes almost at the end of the show, but that was his name is Giggs. And but anyway, it was funny because it's always funny because whenever Gordon says that the dish isn't seasoned very much or not enough, you know how much salt he uses.
Yeah.
And I think of that right away whenever he criticizes that. And he didn't say that about the very first contestant. Like I said, nobody really said anything except that the way it looked, but that was it because it was all the flavors. They liked it. She had made pork chops and a jalapeno white gravy, which was different. I'd never heard of that. And sour cream mashed potatoes and vegetables.
Safi, don't go through every dish.
Oh, you don't want? Well, I don't have all the because there's
just like go through like the
but I just
main
want to say
stuff you
because
want
of
to
her,
say.
she's the very first one.
Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of like I said, typical. She had 8 grandchildren.
Why? Because she's what?
No, she had 8 grandchildren. I mean, she kind of reminded me of that woman, Southern chef, kind of. But she was from
Paula, whatever.
Is it Dean?
Paula Paula Duke,
I don't know what her name is, but
Paula
anyway.
Dalla.
Anyway, she was from Colorado. So anyway, we'll go to the next contestant. This guy's name was Derek.
Safi, you're doing it.
What's the problem? The next contestant.
You want to go through all the contestants?
Well, there's only 5.
Okay.
This is Derek. He's 59. He has 6 kids.
Oh, God.
He made a sticky pork belly with an egg on top and some other.
I thought that sounded like it could be pretty good. You know, I had pork belly when I had that Viet Cong food in Chicago, where it made me so horribly food poisoned. It was like I was like, oh my God, this was like getting poisoned by the enemy in a war that you're fighting that doesn't exist anymore.
God.
Well, it was bad, but like the pork belly tasted really good, and I thought like there was a really nice person who made the pork belly. And then there was a really evil person who made everything else.
Well, he called it an Asian breakfast for dinner.
And when Joe said it was like it was out of a fast food restaurant or something, and I disagreed. I thought it looked good. And so once again, Safi, it's like it's his bias. It's like,
well, he said
this looks cheap.
Joe said it has everything going for it to usually be a tasty dish. But then he said, but is it good enough for a very competitive, multi-generational Masterchef kitchen?
I think it is, because we saw the shitty dishes from last episode, and I think it is based on that.
Well,
so
the guy didn't get it.
yeah, I know, that was really unfortunate. I was like, oh, fuck you, Joe.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, but
Right?
I didn't think it looked good. But it could have tasted good. I've never had pork belly. But it with the egg on top, I don't know, it's just, I know that's a thing that people do, and I don't care for it. The next guy was Warren. He's 70, and he was a flight attendant for 27 years. And he made a chicken frittata and some other things. And anyway, Joe says, it looks like something you get from a classic dish you get from a boomer. And he thought it was cooked beautifully. And Gordon got a resounding yes. And Joe gave it a no. Lydia gave him a yes. And I think everybody gave him a yes but Joe. So this is when Joe was saying no to everything. We talked about that, like he just was like Mr. No, and his mom was like just the opposite. She was very supportive and friendly.
Well, that's because I guess it's we didn't really get to see all the we didn't get to see all the contestants who auditioned. Probably, I mean there were probably a lot more, but it just kind of felt like, who would be good enough for Joe? Oh, someone who makes something that he gets on a weekly night at a restaurant or something. Like, it just, it feels like Joe is too full of himself, and Gordon is like a salt addict, and then Aaron is like the nice guy who sometimes is okay, right?
Well, I think another part of the problem is, and I saw this with the kids too, is people just think about the art of the dish, the way it looks. And we've even talked about this last year's MasterChef, the one woman at the end about it was like an art thing, and it just, they get too enmeshed with this art business, and they don't think about the taste of the dish, if it goes together. And so
yeah, the thing with like that one guy, is that guy coming up, the guy who Joe said made like a dish for a child? Because it's like, look, he said that because it had a meat, a starch, and a vegetable on the plate. I don't understand what's wrong with that. If you made a dish with steak, potatoes, and then asparagus on it, they'd be saying it's a MasterChef dish, and that's the same thing. And so I don't understand why that's so bad. I highly disagree. I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay, well, we'll just say that this guy Yeah, he's the one. He's the one that Joe said. He said, it's a conceptualized, perfectly executed dish for children.
Safi, you haven't had a single original thought this episode
What
except
does
for
that even mean,
what you've
though?
written on your
It's the second time you've said something where I don't know what the hell he's saying.
I know. Well,
It's just ridiculous.
it's like he's saying because the guy has elements that a child should be eating on the dish that it's bad. Let's say he took off the vegetable. You know what they would say? This dish is missing a vegetable. It could really use some crunch from a vegetable. That's exactly what they say, right, Safi?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd say something and it'd be negative.
Yeah. And so it's just BS. It's like, what was he really supposed to do to make that dish not for a child?
I know. I don't get it. He's like, to me, he's like all over the place.
Yeah. I don't.
Well, he did get the apron no matter what.
Yeah, I don't trust Joe's judgment.
And he seemed very confident, and I thought that, even though I think this is another egg thing, I don't care for eggs, but it looked pretty good. And so I'm not talking about the art of it. I'm just talking about the whole thing sounded pretty good. The next guy is Brazilian, who lives in Nashville, and his name was Horacio, and he's 62. And this is another thing that's funny with Joe. And even this guy, he was cooking and he's about done because they go into it real quick. And it says, if the flavors are not right, it will just be another stew. And it was like rice and vegetables and shrimp and peppers.
Oh no, that was the thing.
This is the peppers.
That was hilarious too, because once again it was all about Joe's personal preferences, because he was like, these peppers, you should take the skins off of them, because nobody wants that crunch on the plate.
Yeah, he said that nobody likes crunchy peppers.
And nobody likes crunchy peppers. And then Aaron was like, I do. And Chef Gordon was like, I do. And he was like, whatever.
Actually, in this one, Gordon said no.
Yeah, he did. All right, no,
he said no.
But he
Joe
said he liked
yes.
he said he liked the peppers. Remember how?
Yeah, he just said no to letting him get.
Yeah,
an
but
apron.
you made it sound like he said no to the peppers thing, and he didn't.
No. The only person who didn't like the peppers was Joe. He made a huge deal about it.
And even when he was criticizing it, you could tell he was dressing up criticizing the peppers by saying that you didn't pay attention to the little details, which would include skinning the peppers like he wants, because it's all about Joe.
Well, it sounds like something for a child.
Yeah, that's something you do for a child.
When you have a child, you can't put all the food together. They have to be separated.
Wah, I don't like the skins on pepper. Wah.
Yes, Mom is just like standing here like, who is this, guys? It's my son.
Can you cut the crust off of my PB&J? Wah. That's Joe. And that's you too, Safi. I don't like eggs on anything.
No,
Wah.
I don't want to talk about it. Anyway,
Why?
This isn't about me. But I think what everybody agreed on that they really loved was the rice. And I don't know which one said, but they could just eat the rice.
Yeah.
Because they just loved it so much.
Yeah.
And
I guess he put a lot of salt on it. And that's why Gordon liked it.
But Gordon said no.
Oh yeah.
But Joe,
not enough salt.
after even going on and on about peppers, he still gave him an apron. He gave him a yes. After the guy left, and Joe said, "It's just not the right way to eat a pepper." I couldn't believe it. His mom's standing there like, "What the hell?" Okay, so that guy did get an apron.
It's the same type of thing where if you give someone an apple and they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to eat this because there's skin on the apple or something like that.
Actually,
like
you used to be that way, dear.
that's because I thought it was bad for you. I didn't know that the apple peel was good for you. I didn't. In fact, I thought you weren't supposed to eat the outside of the apple. I thought it was bad or something. And then, like, when I eat a baked potato, I eat the skin as well. And like, they're the same with fish, too. They like to eat the skin off the fish. So it's like, what's wrong with eating the skin on the peppers? It's fucking childish.
Anyway, I just want to say, just a little aside thing about Gordon. We talk about his love for using salt, and he makes this cheeseburger, and I mean every layer of the cheeseburger is salted. He is cooking in these pans called hex-clad, and so if you ever see one of his hex-clad pan commercials, and you'll see that cheeseburger thing, and where he just salts every layer, like, oh my God, you look at that and then you understand when you get these criticisms about the seasoning, how he really is about salt and seasoning. Now the next guy is that one we talked about right at the beginning.
You know what they should call Gordon Ramsay's pans?
What?
Sodium chloride pans.
Just wants to be like hex-clad.
No, they should be called sodium chloride, Safi. You know what sodium chloride
That's salt,
is, right?
Dear.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Gordon was like, look at my new pans that I came out with. They're covered in salt. And so with every dish that you make, you don't even have to season it because the salt comes out of the pan and gets into the food.
Okay, the next guy is this personal trainer we talked about. And he looked great. I mean, you're talking about somebody, I mean, I don't know, I didn't put down his age, but he was very physically fit. And his nickname, and so he just told him to call him Giggs, which is a weird name. It's almost like like he's a ship captain or something. That's what it sounds like to me, Captain Giggs. But he's the one that made the pan-seared salmon with jasmine rice, and then I think he has some kind of vegetable or something. He's from Florida. And this was the one where Marco thinks that this is probably something that Joe likes to just eat. And instead of all this fancy stuff, this is basically... It was a very simple dish, and
yeah.
I really didn't think he would get it.
Oversimplified.
And see, that makes sense. He's a personal trainer.
Yeah.
But he also makes his foods. He doesn't put a lot of salt, and he makes it simple because for the health of it, and no extra calories, and so. I was really surprised that he got it because of that. But I mean, at the beginning, how they'll send to the judges, any of them, will go out and they'll check on the person cooking, and that Gordon and Aaron went out there, and of course this guy, I told you, he looked really good, and so they decided they'd show off, and so they all did push-ups together and jumping jacks.
Oh, well, you know what I really liked about this episode? I liked how before it started, how they have that pre-screen before every TV show episode on Hulu with like a clip from the show, and they say coming up blank show. Mm-hmm. Well, for this one, they had the video of them slow-mo walking through the fireworks.
Oh.
With coming up Masterchef, and I was like, ugh. When I saw that, like, are they going to do that for every episode? Show you that cringeworthy shot that, like, they think they look really cool and they don't. They look like a bunch of boomers.
Every time. So far.
No, like, for every episode, the pre-screen is going to be that.
But even them coming out last night, they did that.
They did?
Yes, they did.
But did they do the slow motion close-up?
they had these. They were like
It's so
one of
gay.
those fountains, 4th of July. Those
Yeah.
fountains that you light.
It's really
They
gay.
had that. Like on either side of them coming out, and then it was kind of smoky and foggy.
It came out all right.
Okay, well, anyway, so you can tell it's a very simple dish, but the guy's really healthy, and you think, well, Aaron, he was just like, I mean, he's like, he's very, I don't know, he likes to go along with everybody and just be real friendly and try everything, and he's not so jaded.
Yeah,
No.
but then they had this cowboy guy, and everyone liked him, but they thought his dish was trash. And Aaron actually felt sad about having to send him home. He felt bad, and that was a funny moment.
We haven't gotten to that. That'll be next, I think.
I just got to it.
Well, I just wanted to say, Aaron gave
Oh,
that
God.
health guy a yes. Lydia gave him a yes. But Gordon said no because it was too simple a dish. And then Joe said, this dish is like you. It's simple, but, you know, good or something like that. So, okay, the next guy is his name is, so he got an apron. So this next guy, his name is Cowboy Al. And he did a roast venison with whipped mashed potatoes. He had asparagus and heirloom tomatoes. And the reason why I'm mentioning this asparagus, because like I've not said all the things for everybody, is because at the end he left that off the plate. He didn't put it on, you know, at the very end and put everything together. And what had happened is he was cooking the venison, and here comes, what was it, Gordon and somebody else came out, and I think they distracted him, and he burned the venison, so he had to make another slice. But he cooked that fine. It was perfectly cooked, but it distracted him, I think, and he had these tomatoes, which is another thing I have to mention because that was his downfall, and then he forgot the asparagus. So of course, Gordon says not enough flavors, and also he said lack of experience in the kitchen really shows. And I think he got a no from everybody. And another problem with it they didn't like was the tomatoes did not go with the dish. And even Lydia, even though she didn't like it, she was really nice about it. And Joe was a little disconcerted, though, like Marco said. And when he did that, and he said he felt bad, Joe disparaged him. And
Yeah, what did Joe say again? Do you have that written down too?
No.
Oh, God, Safi.
He was a jerk about it.
Well, let's get to the last guy
Okay,
then.
the last guy it's a very interesting story, and this is what I was going. After this Cowboy Al was done, remember he didn't get one. They'd only given out 4 aprons, the hour was up.
But this episode was only 42 minutes long. The only reason why it was longer on the TV is because they have to have all those stupid commercials.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but I'm like, what's going on here? Because I thought, well, maybe this is an episode where, you know, at the beginning, because they emphasized we have 5 aprons to give out. And here they are, they've only given out 4, and the show is over. At least that's what I thought. Then they have this Christopher come out, and apparently he's part Japanese. And he made, I'll just say what it's called. It's called karaage, and it's like a Japanese fried chicken, and he made a pickled red dragon fruit, which was interesting. And the thing that was very interesting about this, first of all, he had, a year before, he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, I'm sorry. And So, with that, he'd had to have chemotherapy, and that kind of affects your taste. And also, he must have been very sick. He just looked kind of weak. He just said this was just a year ago, and he was recovering. But anyway, he said, I'm with this man, and because they have him introduce the people they're with, who they are. And I immediately thought, well, is he gay? And I knew that that's what they thought too when he said that. But then he said, this is my birth dad. I just gotten to know him while I've been sick. His other son found Christopher through 23andMe.
Yeah.
And so this was his birth dad, and from Japan. He had been in Japan. He'd been a GI. And so I thought that was a very fascinating story. So I guess this was worth it to extend the episode beyond the hour. And anyway, I thought his food he was very calm and very professional. And the food looked good, I thought. It was very nice looking, and he didn't seem to have he wasn't like under stress at all, and calm. And the only problem, I guess, the chicken was a little under seasoned. And and of course you know who said that. Basically, it was Gordon. But I think the thing is, I just have to say, having to do this chemotherapy drug stuff, it messes up your taste. And so after you're off of that, any kind of seasoning is like so good that, it may not be enough for somebody else who's used to a ton, like Gordon. But for him, it was probably good. But anyway, I thought this was really interesting, but they did something in the end. You want to say what they did? What Gordon did?
I don't know.
Well, everybody gave him an apron, but we're down to, almost everybody. But when Gordon went out, it was like two people would say, oh, he deserves to get an apron. Lydia and Joe, actually. But then Gordon left the room, and he went out and went to the birth dad, and we didn't see what happened, but then and then he calls out Christopher, the guy, to come out there, and they're going, what the hell? They don't know what's going on. And Gordon had secretly given the birth dad the apron to give to Christopher. So they made a big deal about that.
Yeah. I wasn't paying attention because I just assumed he would get it because of him being the last person in the episode, and I thought,
one more.
Yeah, they needed him. I give this episode a B+. I thought it was pretty good, so much better than the last episode. But now I'm sick of the auditions, and don't we have 2 more episodes?
We do.
Oh,
I know.
Like, why?
And
Why?
Lydia even said, I think the winner might be from the boomer generation.
They're going to do that every episode, say that, like, oh, maybe the winner's from this generation. Maybe the winner's from that generation. It's like, yeah, no shit. They're competing against each other. One of them's going to be the winner, so duh.
Well, I know, but she was so friendly and calm and nice.
And you noticed how she fit in. Whereas the last judge, the guest judge, she did not fit in. And so I just wanted to point that out. That you can see that on camera.
And Gen Z is next week, so that's Marco's generation. So.
Oh, okay, Safi.
Well.
I don't know what you're trying to say there.
Well, I guess we see what Marco thinks about his generation. Who knows what they'll be like? I have no idea, but I don't really, like Marco and I said at the beginning, I don't really care about this kind of stuff.
No.
Just care about the cooking. But I thought the last part was a very good, interesting story.
I think it's because of how they're doing it, though. The way that they're making it be so mean-spirited. If it was just like this episode, and they weren't really focusing on it very much, then I would be interested in it because it's fun and whatever. But like, it's the fact that they're overemphasizing it and trivializing their generations.
Well, I think the thing is too that the boomer generation are their grandparents and parents to all these other generations. So what are they going to say? You know, they'd be criticizing their own children and grandchildren, and they're not going to. Why would they do that? Why would they? You know, they don't care. They're beyond the caring about that stuff. They just want to cook and, you know, be recognized and have a good time and learn something. So I just think they have a different attitude. But yeah, we don't like that mean-spiritedness. I don't like it at all. So it'll be interesting to see next week if they'll continue to try to emphasize that, which I think they will, because they think that brings more views or whatever, more excitement. But I'll give it an A, because I love the way his mother, Joe's mother, saw him for how he acts all the time. I mean, he's really being mild in comparison to other times where he gets the dish and he throws the whole plate, the actual physical plate, like a china plate or stoneware, into the garbage can. And Gordon is the one that likes to, since he's a former soccer player, he likes to get his foot and kick the food out of the place, or they throw it against the wall.
What does Aaron like to do?
He doesn't do it. I don't remember him doing anything like that.
No.
I think if he doesn't like it, he just usually gives this exasperated look.
Yeah, because Aaron started off being a guest judge on like shows like Chopped, and on that show they don't do things like throw the plate in the trash or whatever, you know, because they're all sitting and they're all just like, your food sucks or your food is good. So, you know,
well, at least they're just honest. It's just brutal honesty.
Sometimes.
But I mean, they don't throw things, which I hate when they do that.
Really?
I hate when they throw the food or the plate into the trash. I mean, they throw an entire dishware with the food on it into the garbage can. I'm not talking about a paper plate.
So have you.
So anyway, that's it. And so we'll see what happens next week, next Wednesday. And that's it. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. And watch the show and tell us what you think. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.